It's Kentucky Oaks Day, and FanDuel TV is the place for news, analysis, handicapping insight, and the pageantry of the Run for the Roses. We are the only network with on-site live racing coverage every day. Plus, all the information you need to help you wager and win on the 150th Kentucky Derby. Come join us for racing's biggest 2 days on FanDuel TV.
Happy Kentucky Oaks Day. We are here, FanDuel TV, brought to you guys by Dubs Anderson, Megan Payton. We've got Ashley and Gina. Gina live on site at Churchill Downs. And guys, we've got plenty of fun wagering opportunities. The Kentucky Oaks, just about an hour away, but we also have race 10, the Edgewood, just about 15 minutes to post time here. So there's plenty of ways that we're going to get involved here. We're going to be building different superfectas, exactas, all the wagering opportunities. Let's start with the Kentucky Oaks. The 8, Tarifa, she is the favorite here. But I feel like a lot of us have gone elsewhere, Dub. So what stands out to you?
Yeah, Tarifa, the terrific there. And you know what, they say the Derby is the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. I would say this is the 2 best days in sports wagering. The Oaks coming up and then the Derby tomorrow. We've had a pretty strong start. We're back to a couple of winners. We've hit a couple of exotics. And for me, I like the look at Tarifa. It's coming in with some really strong form there. Missed a 3-race win streak. But I think Thorpedo Anna makes a bit of sense. It could be very tough to beat, but it's all going to come down to the value. So I've just given away my top endorsement. But it looks to be a fantastic field shaping up for this one. And thank goodness we've got Ashley and Gina to break it all down for us.
I know. And Gina, you're out there in Kentucky right now. I know you guys have been dealing with a little bit of weather, but it is packed. So tell us first, get us up to speed. How's the experience been and how's the betting been?
The betting has been really good because we have some of the top class horses here. So it's nice to look at their form and just kind of put all the pieces together. On the sense of being here this whole, I don't know, I think it's 10 days, but I've lost track. Just to see the horses on different conditions and the tracks have kind of swayed my opinions on a couple things. And the horses have just been fantastic. I mean, all of them, we've seen them do their gait schooling and works and jogs after they breeze and seen them in the stalls and how their personalities are. So it's been really incredible. It's been a great experience to be around these great horses.
I feel like it's so hard to not second guess yourself. Like you have a horse that maybe you like going into it, and then over, the week, the days, and I'm guessing being out there live on site, like your mind wants to go different places, which is good, but also you sometimes want to trust that instinct. Okay, so Gina, you're out on site. We're here holding down the studio in Los Angeles. Ashley, get us up to speed with where you're at and how everything's been on your end.
I'm at home. I'm just being a fan from home, Megan. I think, I've watched the racing all day, and Gina alluded to the weather. The weather is always a big topic of conversation when it comes to Oaks Day, when it comes to Derby Day. And it's not just, is it raining or is it not? It has to do with the temperatures. Is there wind? Is the track going to dry out? What's the maintenance going to look like? So that kind of shakes things up a little bit. And I think the big thing with today, the card started very formful, but we've seen some big prices. There was almost a $44 winner in the Modesty on the turf, and things have come in a little bit of alive here. And, you're gearing up here for the late pick 4, this is the wagering opportunities. Dubs, you talked about it. There's exactas, there's supers, there's all of that too. And you've put them together, but there's also the Oaks Derby double that a lot of people are going to get involved in, a good opportunity as well. And then tomorrow, another 14 race card. So it's a very exciting time, and a little envious of Gina right now. It's always a fun time to be at Churchill, but especially in these big days.
I'm getting a little jealous there as well. And look, on the handicapper side of things, with the weather rolling in, we're going to have to make some slight adjustments, head on a swivel, stay agile. But Gina, before we look at the Oaks picks from all of the talent team and where they're going for the big race, did you have to call an audible with the wardrobe? I mean, what are we wearing for the wheels? Like, you can't be rocking the good wheels walking around in the mud out there on course.
What do we have?
What did I have? Okay, I've got these booties, and they have been really comfortable and life-saving.
Yeah, they look like they're in good condition.
They're in good. Yeah, I've been okay. I have hidden in the paddock in the stall area quite some time until I have to go out and do the live hits. And the media press room has been good. It's been good to me. Yeah. But it is. And, it's funny you guys are talking about the track because, the turf track, usually on any days we would come off the turf, but so many stake races on the turf, we're going to keep them on. It's softer, and you can see that the horses that like a softer ground and like that type of footing are kind of making that late move. And the track per se, like the dirt, it's not as slick as it used to be. It doesn't look slick today. So it's the closing and the speed. There's a lot of speed. But if you're sitting close, you can make that nice late run.
I like it. Can I reveal my wheels before we get into it?
Yes, let's go.
Studio. See these?
Quickly. Hello.
Those are going to stay nice and white on the end because we're inside all day.
Your boy's got his best shoes on for the Oaks. Let's get these talent picks up. Where are we going?
Right,
just over an hour away until kickoff. Come on now.
I feel like we've all gone different directions too. So maybe a chance to build some sort of superfecta, if we will, or just take it as your own win-play show. Like you guys have mentioned, there's so many different ways to jump in. So I'm sticking with the 11 horse ways and means. To me, that's been something I've been endorsing. Where are you going, though? Start us off.
Yeah, I like Thorpedo Anna, the 5. I think makes a lot of sense. And this spot was very impressive last out. And I feel like I'm hearing a mixed bag of Thorpedo Anna and Thorpedo Anna.
Yeah, let's have the debate.
I'm going to settle the debate. Thorpedo Anna is named after the one and only Ian.
It's a swimmer.
Thank you, Gina. We don't have a lot of good
Swimmer.
exports in Australia. He's the best Olympian we have ever had. He was Michael Phelps before Michael Phelps.
Yes.
Thorpedo Anna, named after Ian Thorpe, a really good racehorse as well as filly.
And I'll tell you, Thorpedo Anna is now, Kenny is like praying that this is going to be his Oaks win, right? Because he's been there. He's been so close a couple times. And I've got to say, she looks so solid in the morning. Like, she's kind of scary. Like, if you were going to be her friend as a person, she'd probably beat you up a couple times and you would just be her friend. She's very aggressive. Her and Tarifa are very aggressive fillies.
So we're going to land on Thorpedo Anna, I feel like. Or Anna, but we're definitely settling on Anna, right?
Yeah.
That one's the...
It's Anna, yeah.
Anna, yeah.
My accent makes up for that. Anna, I didn't know there were two different ways. Ashley, where are you going?
Same with you. I'm all on Thorpedo Anna. I think the big thing is obviously, there's a lot of live fillies in this spot. But what she's been able to accomplish, her lone defeat was still a great performance. And you look who she was the runner-up behind Intricate, who had a lot backing her. But I think the other thing is we talk about personalities in sports. And, if you know Kenny McPeak, he's got a big personality and, he'll make comments. He told everyone they better bring a grizzly bear to the Oaks because he's bringing a bear and he would have no problem running her against the boys. So he's got a lot of confidence coming into here. And Gina's talked about the physicality of her. She's looked great. All the coverage that I've watched, obviously remote, but watched a lot of the Works morning shows from FanDuel. She looks incredible. So I think she's tactical. She's got some early foot. She can get a good position. We talked about it with the Derby. We know the Oaks, there's still a lot of fillies in here. You have to get into a good position early. And I think her running style, even you go down the page, she can close from off of it. She can be close to it. She's the sort of filly I want. But kind of looking at her, she's 5-1 morning line. She's been taking a lot of respect. I think people are really noticing what they've seen so far.
You've been out there live on site, Gina. So how's Thorpedo Anna look to you? And then give us your top endorsement where you've got your eyes on.
She's a very confident filly. When you're around her, you feel her presence, you feel her essence. She is not lacking confidence at all. And being in the Kenny McPeak barn, she almost kind of emulates his personality, which is funny. I've never really seen a horse do that in Kenny's barn. So she's a very tough woman. She looks great. Now, my endorsement, I like the way Leslie Rose is, but if I had to choose one to ride, just FYI would be my pick. But I am really excited to see Our Pretty Woman get thrown into the mix because she changes the whole game.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to get back to the Oaks because there's plenty to dive into, not only with just top endorsements, but we got to talk Edgewood as well.
Yeah, we didn't
Race
even
10.
get to Tarifa. So let's make some money.
We got
first.
Tarifa as the top selection right now over at the Oaks. We are 3 minutes to post time for Edgewood, race number 10. Plenty of ways to jump in. The daily doubles available, so that's nice if you're wanting to bet on this as well as the Oaks. Conditions for this one, they're going a mile 16th. It's going to be out on the turf. This is for the fillies, the 3-year-olds. Dubs first, how are you playing this one?
The chalk. I know you give me a hard time all the time about playing the chalk. Hard to justify the 9. Currently sitting at 9-5 in the market. Flavion Pratt comes aboard here for Chad Brown. 3 starts, 3 wins, progressive on the speed figs. When it makes sense to jump in and play the favorite. But hey, it has been a bit of a layoff since we last saw Hard to Justify out here on the West Coast. So that would probably be the question mark for me. Getting that 9 spot, the way the course is playing. Look, I like this horse to get the W at 9-5. A little short in terms of price.
Well, again, this is the chance to jump into the multis potentially. And it's not just the daily double. I mean, you've got the pick 3 starting, you've got the pick 4, the super high 5. So obviously the multis, we know if you play it right, maybe you isolate the favorite here in race 10. There is way to get some value. Ashley, how about you? Any leans for race number 10?
Yeah, I'm really curious here with the mile and the 16th and with the conditions on the turf, what the pace scenario is going to be, right? I see the inside runner, Pink Polka Dots, has a fair bit of early foot. You can also look at the 7, Maxi Superfly, who has been forward in all of those races, maybe even a tad quicker in some of them. So when you think about this race and you think about the favorite, specifically Hard to Justify, I mean, she's going to be right off of these fillies and she's going to get a good trip in here. Now, the question is the layoff. It's Chad Brown. Talk about a guy with stats backing his outfit all the way around. The layoff is really not a concern with Chad. And obviously he's going in this spot. He has the confidence and she's run well off a layoff in the past. For me, though, always looking for a price. I think the 4, Buku, is a horse to use in here. This horse ran so well at Keeneland off the layoff. We hadn't seen her since the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. She ran fresh and she was game. It was a big field. A lot of fillies exit that event. And to me, she's taking love in here as well. I mean, you're talking about a 9-5 shot and a 2-1 shot. She was 4-1 on the morning line. I mean, I think just off her one lone run this year, she's worth a long look.
Sitting right now at 2-1, the 4. So you're going with the chalk. The 9 is the favorite. Hard to Justify, sitting at 9-5. Gina, who has your eye?
You're going to think I'm absolutely crazy, but I'm going with Band of Gold. This filly has been working so impressively. Brian Hernandez
26-1?
Really aggressive.
Let's go.
I know. Gina's not afraid.
I'm not. Look, I had to ride long shots, and I came in on wet days like this, even though it was on the turf. And this filly has a powerful kick down the lane that another filly. Kenny has these fillies in his barn and they're airing off of each other. They're like breathing off of each other. And this filly has a lot of confidence, Band of Gold. And I'm not just that, but even, she does like wet surfaces, even though it was at Oakland Park, it was on the dirt. She likes a little bit of a wet surface. So I think she's got really good turn of foot. She can grab anything.
With that, they are off and racing. So our top 3 endorsements, the 9, 4, and 2 are off and after it. Let's see if we can get a couple home in order. Be fantastic in terms of seeing a couple of prices. Out there on the turf course, Ashley, what changes with your handicapping? Obviously, the pace scenario a little different. Is Gina going to give us a live?
I'm trying.
Let's go.
I know, live on site. Wow. No better view, honestly.
No, follow up on that, Dubs, though. I mean, what's having yielding kind of conditions out there, there's so much moisture in the turf course, and a lot of fillies, especially 3-year-old fillies, won't have that race day experience, right? Yielding conditions at a lot of tracks, they'll say, you know what, let's save the grass, let's move it to the dirt. So this is a big game changer. Just because even, you look at these, you might be like, oh, they've handled an off track on the dirt. Doesn't mean it translates. Sometimes it does. So you have to look at the splits as well, right? The times of the fractions here, because sometimes they will be pedestrian, they'll be slow, and that can affect horses. Are they able to close, or do they tire over it? I mean, I would tire going a mile at any distance, but some of these horses, right, when it's more of a heavier footing because there's so much moisture in it, it can be really tough on them.
I feel like that's a funny segment of like, give me the mile time, early speed, closer.
I get tired walking to the car, but I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a live update, we've got a price up in front here. It's the 7 lead them as they turn for home, and it's very congested. Runs a bit of a pack. They're sort of 3-4 wide here. This is anyone's race. Hopefully you guys are watching along live here with a couple of tickets in the fire. It looks like the 11 way to be Marie with Flo in the irons, trying to fend off the 10 as they get close toward the wire. It's the 10 with a last-minute bid, and the 10 gets it. Dynamic pricing. Irad Ortiz aboard for the ride. Irad Ortiz, one of the best pilots in the world, and proven it yet again.
And there we go. We got a price in race number 10. Dynamic pricing going off at 8-1. Obviously, we'll wait till those prices go official, but there's the value play.
Chad Brown, Ashley, you said to watch. Yeah, I can get the runners primed up for a big spot. I wasn't on this Chad Brown filly, but certainly with a very big performance, a minute 44.10 there, and needed every bit of the distance.
She did, and just kind of watching the stretch run and kind of reacting to it. I mean, she was kind of just inching at the pace here and kind of gearing down and picking up horses one by one. And that's the big thing with her. I mean, she tried to do that last time in the Florida Oaks. I was actually there at Tampa and watched her, and she kind of ran out of real estate. And maybe she had some excuses, because when you start to look at her past performances, that last time she was further back than she would have preferred, right? She typically wants sort of a mid-pack trip. Wasn't able to do so. And you talked about the connections, Dubs. I mean, this is value that you don't typically get on these connections, right? And I think it's because you look at Chad's other filly in here, had a little bit of a more strong resume, right? Had the grade 1 win, where this filly just had a maiden victory, but she was grade 3 place. So that's the price difference that you get. And it's going to be interesting. You talk about dynamic pricing today in the Edgewood. Tomorrow, Irad and Chad are going to team up with Domestic Product, who's 30-1 on the morning line. We don't see that often.
Couple of monster prices. Gina, talk to us about the experience that you get with a pilot like Irad Ortiz. You can see from that performance, was patient, was poised, goes off there at 8-1, didn't try and force the hand on the inside, shifted out wide, and knew that he had plenty of horse under him. But explain to us why the better riders, full front and center, step up in the big races.
Well, so Irad Ortiz right now, I mean, for a while, he's been riding the top horses in the country. So your timing changes if you're riding great horses, okay horses, or bad horses. So a bad horse will make a bad rider, and it will make you consistently ride bad, and your timing will be off. Now, when you're consistently on really nice horses, your timing is going to be impeccable because you have power underneath your saddle. So one thing about Irad is he has a lot to work with, and so he knows that, and he also knows the horses he's sitting on. And he's just timed up perfectly. He's keyed up for that home run. And it's a beautiful thing to see when it comes together, especially with Chad Brown and Irad. But a lot of these guys riding these top level horses, they're going to be on time to the party because they have the nice sports car.
And how was it seeing it out in person, Gina? I mean, you've got the front view vision. Tell us, for the viewers, either at home or in studio, what's the difference seeing it actually out on the track?
In terms of the people and live coverage?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's the atmosphere like?
Oh, man, it is a packed house. Everybody's in pink. Everybody has their swag on. They're screaming. I'm in the truck, and we can hear the crowd. I mean, it's covered from head to toe. There is not an inch. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see. Look at all the people.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one
look at that, just to be able to see it.
It's one of the great sports venues in the game. Gina, so there's about 100,000 people plus expected today, tomorrow. It's going to be monster. What's been the biggest fashion faux pas? And if you were having a wager there, 10, 11, 13, we've got some monster prices coming across from the trifecta and the superfecta once those go official. But what's been the biggest fashion mistake? And maybe what's one thing that stood out for you day one here?
Shoes, because they have added so much real estate to this. If you're not wearing some comfortable shoes, it doesn't matter if it's nice weather or not, you're going to be hurting. And that would be a mistake. Now for the guys,
take aim on the guys. We just did a positive and negative. It doesn't have to be.
I can't really even say anything bad about the guys. They're dressed to the nines. Like, they've got the shoes, they've got the hats. I felt like I'm wearing black and I'm in this sea of pink. So I would say I'm probably the most fashionable, not doing it right. Everybody's wearing pink. It's all pink, which I love.
We
got to support the ladies. Yeah.
Collmus.
Okay, I'll throw this one at you, Ashley. We're having this debate on our Derby debate. It's the sunglass debate. Now, luckily, because it's overcast over there, I feel like we can throw the debate out the window. But sunglasses, approved or not approved at the Derby for the guys? Like, to me, I think it's a little bit of like a bad move. Like, you're out there, you're dressed nice, and I think the sunglasses throw it off. Do you agree, Ashley?
I would agree. I'm not a huge like sunglasses person, right? Because if you're not wearing them and you're a guy, like where are you gonna put them? On top of your hair? You're gonna mess up your hair? Like I don't know. I just feel like I understand they're good for SPF for your eyes and UVA, rays and stuff to protect it, but I don't like it. It also is distracting because let's be real, Megan. Like we've seen some really funky sunglasses that I don't know. They're a little bit more obnoxious than maybe useful.
And they're not the hat. Like I get that for the girls, we get the big like cool hats, but the guys can't mess with it with the sunglasses. All right, we'll get back to some of the fun Oaks traditions, but the Superfecta came in at $28,000 for race number 10 for a $1 ticket. So I mean that's pretty impressive.
Look, well done if you had it. I don't know if I'm happy or I'm salty that I didn't have that ticket. I love seeing other bettors get the big score. They're $28,000. And if you're new to playing the horses or you're joining us this afternoon thinking, what's the superfecta? Well, we've got the exacta, first and second, trifecta, first, second, and third. We can get a monster return. The superfecta is one better. You can play for as little as $1. You've got to come up with first, second, third, and fourth. And yes, you can have multiple combinations. But can you imagine that? You jumped in, it's Oaks Day, you're playing the undercard, you punch in a superfecta ticket, you've now refreshed your FanDuel Racing app, and you've got $28,000. Ash, you lead us off. Where are we going and what are we spending on the $28,000? Nothing responsible. We've got to have a bit of a party to start with. Then you can be responsible.
Yeah, then afterwards.
Well, I don't know if I'd go for the $1,000 mitten juleps if I was on site. That might be a little
No,
pricey, a little too much
no,
balling on a budget. I think $28,000 that goes away. But I mean, you have to go fire back, right? I mean, if you had $28,000, you're gonna tell me you're just gonna sit there and not gamble, right?
I like it.
I mean, it's gonna burn a hole in your pocket. I'm not saying to gamble all $28,000. You can take a little bit, maybe go on vacation or something, or go to another racetrack, right? But go to Preakness next, right? But I think for me, I just start firing again. There's still 3 races. There's 14 tomorrow. There's way more money to be made.
Hey, say less. As long as you're sticking to your bankroll and you're doing it responsibly. If you're seeing them well and you've just brought the superfecta home, let's put eyes towards race number 11, the Kentucky Oaks. Gina, what about you?
I'm into the homesteading thing right now, so I'd probably get an ostrich because I like some ostrich eggs.
Like an
emu? The actual ostrich?
Like
I want an ostrich. Also,
where do you buy one?
Well, they're kind of they're aggressive, and I just want to see my husband try to feed it in the morning with my cup of coffee. That would just make my day.
So we can rent it. We don't need to buy it. I think it's like written ostrich. You can save some money, and then you can use that extra money to keep the bets going.
Oh, we're definitely going to keep the bets going. An ostrich is only $1,500, kind of like a julep. So we're good to go. But no, I would trickle down for the rest of the day. And then there's going to be some really good betting options with the Kentucky Derby. I'm so thrilled for that race. And even the undercard has just some really, really awesome races coming up. And I can't wait to cover all of those with you guys. So I would definitely spread it down for tomorrow and bet the Oaks.
I have so many questions. The fact that you know how much an ostrich is, like,
I looked it up.
Say a little less. Look, we've probably got time to sneak in a quick little preview for tomorrow's field. We know the favorites, but maybe give us a horse that is sneaking under the radar that hasn't got the same buzz. We know Fierceness is going to see a lot of play. Stronghold, the Japanese runners, I feel like are still under the radar a little bit. Maybe give us a horse that is not getting that buzz, Ashley. Who's one to keep an eye on?
Well, I was going to deflect to Gina first because Gina's been on site. She's seen the horses work. I've seen all the great interviews and getting to talk to the connections and just going to the barn area, right? And being able to just see these horses close up, right? I mean, I can visually watch it on my computer, but I think there is a huge advantage of being on site. So I know, Gina, you've talked to a lot of people. You've been there early mornings. What is your kind of underdog? Who would be a price here?
Well, thank you so much for acknowledging that too. It's been such a great ride, and I'm so happy to do it. I do want to make a point. The way the Japanese horse ran today, that could indicate a little bit of what they might do tomorrow. So we might see a really, really fast pace, which could put up a brick wall for some horses to run and come closing. So with that being said, I know there's a lot of talk about Honor Marie still, so he's not really we're not gonna probably get the best price on him. I do really like that horse. I think he's got a lot underneath him. Catalytic, I'm concerned about the distance, but he's in his best form. And if we're looking at a price, Track
Are you going to say
Phantom
Stronghold?
catches.
You're going to say Stronghold, my top selection? You can say that, Gina. We'll take that.
Stronghold is very nice, and honestly, he catches your eye every time he goes to the track. So, I mean, I wouldn't be against Stronghold. I would probably, I would put more Track Phantom's going to be sneaky and Stronghold. Yeah.
Okay, Ashley, are you endorsing Stronghold? I feel like you've been hyping Stronghold up for quite some time. This has been your top endorsement. We've seen it shorten in price, though, right? I mean, it's at about 35-1 right now.
Yeah, I mean, was 21 in the morning line.
Yeah.
Skyrocket. So we have seen a lot of movement in the market. But yeah, I mean, you know, this is the day or the 2 days that you want to jump in and chase a couple of flyers.
Yeah.
You know, we all land on the favorites. Fantastic and Fierce. This makes a lot of sense. But I just think Stronghold is not getting the same attention. You know, Phil D'Amato is certainly very capable. I love Antonio Fraser. This will be his first Kentucky Derby. And I like the versatility. I mean, it doesn't matter what sport we watch. If you're doing something for the first time in front of 150,000 people, including Gina in the black boots out there, it can be a little intimidating. The noises are loud. There's a lot more horses going in to the starting gate. So if you're looking to chase a couple of flyers, now's the time to do so.
And look, I feel like part of betting on the Derby, obviously we mentioned all the fun different ways with the multis, your exotics, but Ashley, take me through just the approach of art. You know, you've got your favorite, maybe a price play like something like Stronghold or
Right.
somewhere in the middles per se.
Yeah, I think, you know, it depends what sort of your budget is and what sort of gambler you are, right? What are you trying to accomplish here? And to me, I'm more of the exotics because we saw that last race, $28,000 for Superfecta. That's where you're making your money. And even if a favorite is in the top two, morning line favorite here being Fierceness, it just takes one long shot to kind of change things, you know? And so to me, I always look at the exotic. So maybe I like a price horse. Maybe you like Stronghold, but you don't know if he can necessarily win. I think there's ways to wager on him and use him in the exotics with other horses you like. And hopefully he gets in the money somewhere. So to comment on Stronghold specifically, I agree with what Dub said in terms of like, he's got a little bit of versatility. I will say, I don't think the Santa Anita Derby was the strongest prep. I think everyone will say that if they look at that field, but it was the trip. He got that awesome trip just off the pace. And the other debate that always comes in is California speed versus East Coast speed. Races in California, that track is quick. That's historically been that way, whether it's Del Mar or Santa Anita. And so I think in terms of having post 18 and having that early foot, he can at least get into a good position early on where, you know, he's got some targets in front of him and he's shown that he can pass horses and get that trip. For me, in terms of a price, I go in a different direction. You know, you look at Stronghold's figures. I mean, he's pushing that, getting really close to that 90 buyer. I'm going to go with a horse that really hasn't been close to those numbers recently, and that's Domestic Product. So we saw Chad Brown and Rad Ortiz just win, but I think the big thing is his preps also get kind of, I don't want to say frowned upon, but in the sense that the Tampa Bay Derby maybe wasn't the strongest of preps, but he's a horse that closed into slow fractions, and that takes a certain type of horse to do so. And I think it makes me curious with a fast pace, what him and Irad can accomplish. Irad's never been on this horse, but I think this horse is a little bit better than he appears on paper. I think physically, I saw him at Tampa. He makes a great impression. I mean, he has that classic sort of build to him. You know, Gina can kind of attest to this, but when we talk about all these trainers, they have a very signature look to their horses. It's based on their training program, what they're being fed, how they're being kind of purchased or picked out of sales. And they start to kind of get that sort of impression. And I don't know, he's my sort of horse in a spot like this. It's going to be really interesting, though. We talk about this field. I could talk about 10 or 15 horses, Dubs, here as my price play.
Well, we might need you to talk about 20 of them. Quick shout out to Pam, Rodney, Jerry joining us. Let us know your top selections. But we do have a couple of prices coming across from the Edgewood, which I will share. Dynamic pricing, the 10 gets the win over the 11, Way to Be Marie, over the 13, Dancing and Dixie, and over the 7 to round out the Superfecta, Max's Superfly. And some of these payouts, the dollar exacta, $120 coming back. The 50-cent trifecta, $451 if you jumped in at the FanDuel Racing app, and the dollar Superfecta over $28,000 coming back if you came up with first, second, third, and fourth in race number 10. So what does that mean for us? we're going to jump in, get after it in race number 11. The Oaks coming up, some great wagering, exactas, tries, supers, and on the multis, a fantastic couple of prize pools to get after here. The daily double, if we can come up with the winners of race 11 and race 12. So this is what it's all about. I need to know, can I make a drink? I got nothing to celebrate, but can I make a drink? I'm a little thirsty.
So
There's free ones here.
Well,
get us one, Gina. Pass it.
Okay, Gina's got to go over to the bar.
Pass it.
Ashley should go to her bar over there, but we actually have our stuff to make a little Oaks Lily. We might have to get involved with that. But I think we also need to do a little like team superfecta, because if we could get the superfecta at a price like we saw in race 10, I mean, I don't know if we're showing up tomorrow.
Do we work tomorrow?
Yeah.
Ashley, you got to call it. Do we work tomorrow?
I feel like we can have a beverage. We can also gamble. We can get the bankroll started for tomorrow. So I think we do have to do a team super here in the Oaks. I mean, there's no time like the present, so we have to go for it. I'm very curious to see this this cocktail bar that you've set up and what we have in store.
It's not much of a bar, but I tell you what, we'll go through it play by play.
It's not the same as being live on site like Gina is, but we did come prepared. We wanted to feel like we were in the spirit of it.
MP's getting the supplies here. So we got the mint juleps coming up tomorrow. It's the run for the lilies. What are we now? Less than an hour away. Just 40 minutes away. This is going to have to be a quick drink.
Okay, so we gotta go quick here. And this is called the Oaks Lily, and you can actually get the recipe right online, the Kentucky Derby. And look, I feel like we don't give enough love to the Oaks Lily. It's all about the mint juleps. But look, I'm a vodka person, so I like this one. I'm gonna vote on the Oaks Lily.
Okay,
it's pretty simple. We're gonna start with. We need like a shot and a half of vodka. Okay. Are you gonna be bartender?
I'll be bartender. The ice is no good. All the ice cubes molded together, so
we'll do it without.
We don't need ice. Let's go.
Nice. All right, go. Give me a shot.
All right.
A shot of vodka. We need.
That's a shot. Put that over
ready
there.
to go. We're going like 1 part.
Yep.
Sweet and sour.
There we go.
Sweet and sour. Then we get a little triple sec going on. I think it's a 4th part triple sec.
This looks fantastic.
We're measure to taste.
Gina, do you drink when you win to celebrate, or is it a drink to sort of take the edge off things if you've had a bad day at the track? If you're just not seeing them, if they're not coming across.
I mean, I would prefer to have one before I start making my bets, because it's actually I'm a lot better. I stick with the confidence of my initial decisions.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's pretty simple, right?
That's it.
Cran, sweet and sour mix, triple sec, a little bit of vodka. If you're fancy and you want to garnish it, I think they add like the blackberries and lemon, but we just want the liquid. So we're good.
Little taste
all right,
test.
Give us a taste test.
I'm so jealous right now. I need to go run out and grab one.
It's actually a good
mix.
Is it good? It's actually a good mix. There you go.
Let's give it a shot.
There you go. Give it a shot. So, Gina, tell us with your experience riding in the mornings. We're now 40 minutes out from race number 11, the Oaks. If you're looking to jump in and play, head over and download the FanDuel Racing app. Some great promos coming up this afternoon. No better time to jump in. But what's going through the jocks' process right now for the riders who just raced in race number 10 and they're looking ahead to race number 11? Are they getting changed? Are they looking at the past performances? Are they having a side conversation with some of the connections? What are they going through right now?
Usually when there's a really big race coming up, you've done all your homework, so you shouldn't have to be looking at your PPs. What you're doing is you're going back to the room, cleaning yourself up, throwing your pants back on, or new, clean pants, getting your silks, making sure that you're ready to come out, and just taking a breath, because especially jockeys who just rode in the 10th, they want to, you're going to come in, you need to kind of just relax and get ready for what's about to happen, especially for such a big race, because it is so important when you're a rider to come out and be calm and just be collected for your horse, because they can feel that tension. So that's one thing that the riders would do. I would say most of them try to deflect from owners and all the extra stuff until after their job is done. And that's important for the bettors and for us, the owners, the trainers, bettors, everybody. So you just want to be, these guys are all professionals and they're great. So they're just going in there to relax and just get their mind cleared and wash away what just happened and just focus on the next race.
And it's at the highest level too. I mean, it's no different than when you think about like the Super Bowl. You ask players, what are their pregame routines? What's the halftime? So this is essentially for some of the jockeys, this is their halftime. And it's really important that you keep calm. You figure out, all right, what's your method? And I'm assuming just like any other sport, they have their method. They've got their routine. They probably, okay, I have an interesting one. Anyone ever think about the jockey pre-race music choice? Is there like a kind of top song selection, you think?
I think so.
There's gotta be.
You got to be fearless. I'm going with something like DMX or Slim Shady, maybe a little Machine Gun Kelly. It's not
very common.
It's no Chainsmokers. It's no Halsey. I need to be fired up. Ash, what are you going with?
I mean, I know they're not listening to classical music, right? Prepping for a race, but I think it's just whatever that gets them in the zone, right? It's like anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's like Gina is saying, you have to block out every other distraction. When you talk about the Derby, I mean, when these horses will make their way onto the track tomorrow, the crowd, even though they're not racing, goes ecstatic. I mean, there's lots of noise. There's lots of things that are distracting. So I think it's about whatever gets them before the race and as soon as they hit the track in their mindset of their game face and without also getting nervous. I mean, I think that's key.
I'm looking at the chat right now. So we've got a shout out for Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny wouldn't be a bad option for a little.
Gotta be real. Had no idea who Bad Bunny was. Went to a Dodgers game. He performed. Slapped me right in the face.
Bad Bunny is massive.
Superstar.
He's really good.
Absolute superstar. Ash, we're now 36 minutes out until we hit the Oaks. Just FYI, currently taking favoritism at the FanDuel Racing app, sitting there at 7-2. Thorpedo Anna, the second choice, at 4-1. Before we jump in to our top selections, the horses are now walking across the track, one of the great traditions we get to see at the Oaks or the Derby. What's a superstition you have as a bettor, as a handicapper? For me, I've got to do everything differently. Unless I'm winning, I've got to open the app with a different finger. I'll have to keep the phone in my left pocket. I can't watch the race. I got to watch it from this side. What about for you? Any superstitions?
My only big one is if I'm alive and I pick 4 or pick 5, it's the last leg. And people say, like, what are you alive to? My response is always horses. Like, I will not tell you who I'm alive to. I will show you my ticket right away, but I really think that's like a superstition. Like, I'm afraid if I say I'm alive to the 4 and the 5, like, it's game over. They will be last and second from last, so I don't do it. But I'm happy to show it afterwards and show it off. But no, but some people have like the whole things like, what is it? No $50 bills. Yeah. Or some people have like whatever. If you're on site, you have to put your ticket in the same pocket, and then if you lose, you switch pockets. There's some interesting ones.
Do you hedge? If you're alive to the cash out leg in a pick 4, pick 3, do you look for other wagering opportunities to make sure you can at least walk away with a return? Now being 35 minutes out and from the Kentucky Oaks.
I think it's really situational. I think it depends how much I'm alive to, right? And I look at who I'm alive to. Sometimes you get to the last sequence and you have the favorite, or you have a long shot and you're like, well, did I kind of reach there maybe? Can the long shot at least get second? And if I don't have the favorite, can I maybe hammer an exacta with the favorite and the long shot? So I think it's really situational, and it also depends probably how much I've spent earlier or how much I'm up on the day, right? You have to be able to make those decisions. And I think that's the great thing, is that we have so much time up until that last race to make that decision.
I feel like we got to get on the betting side now. We're 35 minutes away to post time for the Oaks, and we've mentioned all of our top endorsements, and Tarifa is still one of the tops to beat. So should we build this superfecta? How are we approaching this?
Yeah, I mean, we should start with the chances of the 8 Tarifa. We've given out a couple of our sort of leans here, but the 8 Tarifa was 7-2 on the morning line. Flavion Pratt rides for Brad Cox, was very impressive in the Oaks last out, has the 4 wins from the 5 starts. But one thing we're seeing in the market are the odds going in the opposite direction. Tarifa starting from that 8 spot, now sitting at 7-1 in the FanDuel Racing app. Gina, what do you make of the movement? I don't know, have you had a chance to see Tarifa out there going through the morning works, the final preparations last week?
I have, and I think that the numbers are correct. Tarifa is a very aggressive filly. I've watched her work with Jin on the inside, and she is. I'm worried that if they break sharp, that she's gonna get hooked up and she's gonna be too aggressive early on, and that's something that does worry me with her. That's why I always love a closing horse. Now the numbers don't lie when you're looking at speed percentages and how they've been and everything in the past, but I am worried that we do have some bears in here like Thorpedo Anna and Tarifa, and even Where's My Ring could be a factor too, and even Regulatory Risk. That filly's got a lot of turn of foot early, like she can do it. So there's things in this race that kind of worry me with Tarifa, but Tarifa and Thorpedo Anna are such dominant horses.
All right, so right now you can see Tarifa is actually sitting at 6-1. So a lot of movement coming in for what we thought was going to go off as the favorite, and is now Ashley's top selection, just FYI, that's sitting at 7-2. And just a reminder, you're also on Anna sitting. Information. Start with the one is a scratch. Looking at the 2 horse, would we have the 2 in any part here? That's Band of Gold comes in with the 5 starts and the 2 lifetime wins.
Yeah, I mean, taking a look at the field for me, so the 1 being a big scratch, Gin for the win, Monster Price, the 2 will get that inside draw, flow right in there for Brad Cox. I mean, I thought it was very impressive in the Busanda back earlier this year. Last couple of starts really did show up in the Gazelle, so probably a pass for me, and I think the odds sort of reflect that. Ash, Gina, quick thoughts?
I'm going to go with a pass as well. I mean, I think there's other fillies in here that have finished in front of her and have a little bit more of what I would need to see. She doesn't have the firepower that she needs in the stretch in the last 2, where I think she's just getting minors.
And we've
Same.
got, the 3
same.
horse, Where's My Ring? You were kind of high on this as a little bit of a longer shot. Morning lines were at 15-1. I mean, comes in with 3 lifetime bests, 3 in a row. So something to endorse there.
I think that speed figure in the last outing was very impressive with a step forward and more of that, trying to stack him up coming out of these different races. I think Where's My Ring, the 3 could certainly run big at a bit of a price. So maybe for that 3rd or 4th spot in the Super to win, I think it'd be a bit of a stretch, but certainly makes a bit of sense to have on the ticket.
What do you guys think? Yeah, should we add it in the ticket?
I agree, and I know Gina had already mentioned this, so I'll kind of cue it off to Gina, but I think this is a filly that's developing, and she's really only had 1 bad race of 2 turns. It was in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile filly, so there's also the case to be made. I think she's a better 3-year-old than she was a 2-year-old.
Yes, I definitely agree with that too. I mean, even though she did beat Regulatory Risk and Gin before, and Gin again is a really nice filly. I just don't see that extra pizzazz that I would like to see a horse that's going to be in the Oaks. Where's My Ring? She's doesn't really come from a big barn. She's a twirling candy. I think there's a lot. Twirling candies kind of are, like you said, Ashley, a horse like her develops a little later. So she is peaking, and I did see that in the morning. She looked really good. Just her coat is shiny. She's very just big and bold. But again, she doesn't come from that big barn, so she could be overlooked.
So are we in agreement? We'll give the 3rd and 4th spot for Where's My Ring?
Where's My Ring?
We'll give the 3rd and 4th. All right, moving on to the 4 horse. We got Regulatory Risk, expecting a bit of an early speed type. Comes off, blinkers come off today. Sitting at 20-1 was the morning line, sitting at, I think, a little bit of a shorter price now.
Yeah, so starting to see a bit of movement in the market, and I think could be the early speed. And prior to today, I'd probably say really doesn't have the credentials amongst this field, but the course has carried a bit of that early speed. So if Regulatory Risk can set the table on the front end, I don't know. It could be a part of the conversation, looking to outrun some monster odds, Ash. Who do you see pushing forward? Is it going to be Regulatory Risk on the front end? Who's going with them?
Well, I think the big question with Regulatory Risk is the blinkers come off. So there's 2 ways to typically bucket blinkers. And I'm not saying those are the only 2 reasons, but you're either looking for focus or you're looking for early fun and having a little bit more of that aggression early on. Because think about blinkers. There's all different types of blinkers. But you're kind of narrowing that focus right to go. And to me, blinkers off, I'm not saying she won't be forward. I don't think she'll be on the lead early on. I think this is a strategic move in here to take them off. I think the pace is going to come from other horses in here. I think when you look at this field, top to bottom, Fiona's Magic. She is very accustomed, with the exception of last time out, to only going 1-turn distances at Gulfstream. So just like Churchill and Gulfstream, they have a 1-turn mile. She's only got a mile and a 16th once. She was still quite forward and didn't have anything left late. So I think Fiona's Magic will be forward. I think into Champagne, another type that's been very forward in her races. And outside of this, you start to look a little bit more towards the outside. Our Pretty Woman draws in with the scratch of the horse on the rail. And look at her. I mean, with the exception of her debut, she's always been first out of the gate. So I think a horse like the 4 is actually going to take a trip where they're sitting just off the pace a couple of lengths, and they're going to hope to make a late move.
All right, so we'll stick within, off the card. Do you think we should put in the 4th spot?
Gina, you've got to
Gina,
decide this
be the
off the
deciding
card.
factor.
Okay, so the 4's
Pass.
All right, 4's off the
bit of a
card.
toss.
Right.
This next one better not be a pass from you, Gina.
All right, here we go. It's Thorpedo Anna. I feel like we've given the most attention to this horse coming in for the Oaks. Has the 3 wins and 4 lifetime starts. Now, it was only $40,000, which relative to the field, a little bit of a less expensive horse. Now, we know you like as the top endorsements, you're going to put it in all 4 selections, you would, right?
Yeah, and I love everything I'm hearing from the barn as well. This will be the top endorsement, a must use in all of the exotics there. Thorpedo Anna, Brian Hernandez. I mean, Gina, you may know Brian a a little better. But I feel like this is a bit of a home game and sneaky underrated as a rider.
He really is. But one thing about Brian is he'll come in and gallop one. He's a true horseman. So he and his timing's really good. He'll ride a tough one. He'll give a tough horse that someone might pass on or an agent might just kind of move aside. He'll take it and he'll ride it. Bit of a cowboy. But I like him for Thorpedo Anna. He lets her be aggressive without, he lets her think it's her idea. And that is something that is very important when you're riding a horse like Thorpedo Anna. You were talking about superstition before. I have a superstition about Kenny McPeek in the Oaks. I just do. I don't think she's, I don't, it's just a superstition that I have about this. And she'll be in the top 3, but she might get beat.
Oh, thanks,
Wow.
Gina. Thanks for the glowing.
I'm sorry. So you took the 1 mark out. Then take your shot of this.
Let me
Maybe
try
to
and-
pour
let me
more of
try
the
and
Take
get
a
to the
shot.
top here,
I'm
to the top
sorry.
here. Ash, are you in agreement?
I hope I'm wrong. But
No, she's my top pick. I'm all in on her. I really like her in this spot. Don't get me wrong. I like other fillies. I like Just FYI, Leslie's Rose. Where's my, ring? I like these horses, but with her, she's got to win at Churchill. I know it came at the mile distance, and she was the runner-up behind Intricate, who Intricate didn't make it to the Oaks, but was very hyped up. Would end up actually going to the fairgrounds and was second in the Rachel Alexander and kind of prepping, hopefully, to get into the Kentucky Oaks. And to me, in defeat, I mean, she was still very impressive, and she battled it to the wire to retain that second spot in that race. They gave her the time off, just like a lot of these fillies. Typically, they're put on the shelf sometime in November, whether they make the Breeders' Cup or they kind of race around Thanksgiving at Churchill. Then they let up on them because there's that development from 2 to 3. She's only got 1 start in here. And I thought she was very, very impressive. And, you look at Oaklawn and look at specifically, I was there that day. Brian Hernandez rode that track better than anyone. You talk about that day that Kenny McPeek had there that weekend. He didn't have like 1 or 2 winners. He had 4 or 5 winners, I believe, on the program. So to me, Gina talked about his riding style, the teamwork with Kenny McPeek. I really like her here. And, maybe she doesn't win, but, in my opinion, she's my top pick in here.
We're going all selections then. First, second, third, fourth
Yeah.
for Thorpedo Anna. We'll move on to the 6 horse sitting at a bigger price. Lemon Muffin, morning lines 30-1, now at 19-1. Comes in with the 7 lifetime starts, has 1 win. However, has raced here at Churchill twice. It did finish runner-up in both times. Could this be a longer shot that you would add in at all to the exotics?
Well, it's a tough one. I mean, certainly earned the spot in the field, but that last effort, Gina's just thrown straight over the shoulder.
Shade.
You know what?
You're like, move on to Fiona.
That's what we like. There's no time for games in sports and sports wagering. We're now we're 24 minutes out from race number 11, the Kentucky Oaks. If you're joining us, you're looking to get those tickets in at the FanDuel Racing app. We're trying to go through the field here, giving our top endorsements. So it sounds like Lemon Muffin, the 6, not a glowing praise there from Gina. Ash, could you entertain? And I guess on the 3-year-old front, there's still room for improvement, right?
There is. I will always play devil's advocate. Like, even if I don't have anything to fall upon, I will try to. My issues with Lemon Muffin is she graduates in the Honeybee, okay? She did not have a win prior to that. I will say that she obviously got a better trip and was more comfortable going a mile and a 16th. And you look at her trip, she was a bit closer than some of her other starts. So she wins that, but go behind her in that race. The only horse that you'll see in the Oaks is actually scratched, right? And Neon Beach, since then, the 4th place finisher, came back to win. Then was second best behind a horse named Winnable, who Kenny McPeek conditions. A very, very nice filly who I think has a ton of talent in her future. I just find it hard to make a case for this. And then you look at Lemon Muffin's most recent start. I don't know what you take away from it. I mean, sometimes when you see a bad performance, Gina can attest to this, a lot has to do with trip, or did the horse, break poorly, and what happened. I just can't make an excuse for the performance. So I'm not willing to use her in a spot like this, where I think, there's other big prices here on the board that you can make a more solidified case for.
Okay, so it sounds like, Gina, quick thoughts on Lemon Muffin. You're shaking your head. You say no.
I can appreciate what she's done. I think she's definitely missing. She's really going to have to step up in this field to hit the top 4. And one thing that you can see in second, she gets caught. So she's not a not trying horse. She just gets caught. So she gets outrun. And if you're getting outrun by these horses, you're going to get outrun by these horses in this race today.
Okay, so we're leaving the 6 off. I think, right? That's fair to say.
I feel like if we were back in school and the Oaks is now just 22 minutes away from post time, Gina's not handing out participation ribbons on that. It's like,
I'm sorry, I'm old school.
We've got something.
it.
I had to be.
Place. If you're second, you're a loser. If you're third,
Hey.
they don't want to know you.
If
But
you're
that's
not
even
first, you're
funny.
last. That's Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby.
It's true. And look, but your mindset's going to help keep this ticket price down instead of being like, let's just throw them all in. So the 6 we're leaving off. Let's move on to the 7, Fiona's Magic. This is a bit of a longer shot that I think a lot of us have been hyping up. Put a line through the last out, has had a lot of success, 4 wins in a row prior to that 5th race or the 5th out. Like, do you agree that Fiona's Magic at least has to be a play? I know your dog's named Fiona. So
Could be a principal play, but is that enough to get on the card? Look, I haven't been massive on the chances, but I think if you excuse that last performance over Gulfstream Park, maybe a bit of upside, certainly at that number. We're not just trying to find the best horses in each race. We're trying to find the best value. Fiona's Magic, the 7, has flashed a bit of early speed. We caught up with Kyle down the studio a little earlier today. He's massive on the chances for this horse, and Kyle sees him well. So for me, I'm not seeing it, but I'll defer to Ashley. What do we think? Fiona's Magic?
She's worth the conversation in terms of the pace. She's going to be forward. And you mentioned she had the 1 poor performance last time out, which is her only 2-turn race down at Gulfstream Park. She went a mile and a 16th. And she just typically, she was quick out of the gate, but she also had some pressure early on and she faltered. There's a couple things I'll have to say here. Really respect Michael Yates as a trainer. He is a tremendous horseman. He flies under the radar because he doesn't get to shine on this stage often. Now, last year he did have Darth Vader out of that outfit and participated and was 5th in this race. Now, actually, Darth Vader, I believe, raced earlier today at Churchill, now in a different barn. But, you look at her and on paper you would say, oh, she hasn't done much. But she has been very game. Her forward gallop performance was a very game second. She was stretching out to 7 furlongs, tackling graded stakes competition for the first time in her career. She wins the Devona Dale. And yes, she did disappoint last time out. I have a tough time. I wouldn't be surprised seeing her kind of 5th or 6th in here. But as I mentioned, from a pace perspective, you wonder what she can do here. You talk about the Oaks, the Derby. Everyone talks about the speed factor and getting that position early. She should be forward here, and she's got a rider who is Luis Saez. Luis Saez is a little bit more on the aggressive style, right? He's going to get her out of the gate, hustle her out there, and get into position. Whether she has the stamina at the 1.125 trip, I think that's a different story.
Gina, your thoughts? Ashley saying 5th or 6th, that wouldn't make it into the superfecta. Are we adding the 7 Fiona's Magic to the card?
I have a hard time adding her in because she does have crazy tactical speed. And I haven't been able to see a lot of her in the mornings because Michael takes her out really early and takes her on different gaps, I'm pretty sure. So I haven't been able to see her. She's when I do see her, she has a lot of just really fast action, almost like a trotter. She's really she's go, go, go. What was interesting to me about Fiona's Magic is the second race since here at Gulfstream Park, when she beat Into Champagne and Leslie Rose, she was drawn on the inside and really came in. And I love seeing that horses dig deep. And I love to see that fighting willingness about her. So she's going to be, like Ashley said, probably sitting 5th towards the end. But there's just a lot more horses in this pack that just have that longevity of that run. So she's going to have a tough time with that. Ashley, would you agree?
I would agree. I can't see her based on her resume so far. Maybe if she had another try going a mile and a 16th, but knowing that her 1-2 race is all she has going into this, it's a little stacked against her.
So is it fair to say the early speed won't be in her favor here? We should maybe leave Fiona's Magic off. All right.
It's a pass.
Dutch is going to cry.
His dog Fiona's hearing right now, just saying, you're not believing in me.
Wait till I tell Fiona after she gets her smackos tonight that you guys were against her. But just a quick update. We're now 18 minutes away from start time towards the Oaks. And the betting market at the FanDuel Racing app, it's the 13, just FYI, taking favoritism. And you talk about good betting races. We've got the top 4 betting choices all between 7-2 and 6-1. One of those top choices is Tarifa, the number 8. And I feel like the closer we get to a start time and the jockeys are suited and booted, they're walking out to the ring now, the more that stock is falling from Tarifa. So for you guys joining us on socials, let us know. Are you buying in towards the Godolphin runner? Can they go back to back? If not, who are you going with? But for me, I mean, Tarifa on paper has been fantastic. The 4 wins from the 5, highlighted the connections there. Brad Cox, home game. If we get off to a decent start and set the table in this one, makes a lot of sense. You're now getting a better price.
I mean, Gina, you're out there. What do you think about this movement? Does it make sense to you? And it's kind of surprising, right?
You know, to see late money get added to horses always makes me kind of think a little bit of what's going on. It could have to do with how much the betting is, the magnitude of this race today. And
I just put a couple of tickets in. Maybe that's changing the market.
Is it going to change? Is
my $50 bangers. Maybe that's changing the prize pools.
You know, another thing though, I really, you can look at the form, you can look at the paper all day, but these are not machines, they're not cars, they're horses. So when you're watching them in the paddock, that can really make a huge difference on, you can go, oh, I really love this horse. And then you see it and you're like, oh, he's not really weathering that well right now for this race, this particular time, or, this one looks a little heavy. What do I look for?
Yeah, in the paddock.
It's tough to say. So 2 days ago, Joe Shiesty gave me this look, and I was like, that was the one that paid massive money. It was 44-1. And I said to Jess, I was like, Jess, Joe Shiesty's got a look on him. I mean, he looked right at me and was like, hey, watch me run. And that he did. He ran. Halezi yesterday with Jane Elliott gave me that look. It was really weird. I don't know. People probably think I'm crazy, but it's a look of just this confidence, like watch me run. And that horse ran down the track and finished second. And I was like, these long shots, I think he was 22-1. So with this race, you have a bunch of horses that are well bred, well started, well ridden, well raced. So you've got to look at if one's sweating up, if one is, difficult to saddle when they're normally not difficult to saddle. I kind of look for little intricacies that the horse is uncomfortable, just not feeling the day, because that happens. You could be signed up for a race and then the horse goes to the race. And especially for the fillies, they might be in season. Something might, and in season causes certain little things with the body that changes for females. So there are things like that you can tell by looking at a horse in the paddock. And that's why I love having Andy.
But that's what's so important about being live outside and having people like you, Gina, come on and give us the stuff that we can't always get in from the TV. You can see a lot, but having your insight, obviously extremely helpful. So Ashley, what do you make of Tarifa, the line movement, the chances here? I mean, I know your top selection is just FYI, so you've kind of probably been seeing this coming.
Well, no, mine's Thorpedo Anna. I use just FYI underneath. I think the big thing with Tarifa is there's a couple of things. Gina was just talking about the physicality and kind of just watching the feed now and getting a look at her. When I had seen her at the Fairgrounds twice, I'd seen her before her races and actually saw her after she won the Fairgrounds Oaks because I went to go check in on her and Catching Freedom. She's a very big filly. She's tall and she's lanky, but with that, she doesn't necessarily kind of wouldn't call her very chunky. She kind of keeps a race fit look to her, and just kind of looking at her on the feed right now. She's calm, but she looks like she's put weight on. And to me, that's always a good sign, in my opinion. So I like the way that she looks and her body language. And to me, I can go either way with her. Would I be shocked if she runs a big performance? Not at all. I also think though, looking at her, she's been kind of sheltered. She's just been in those races at the Fairgrounds. Obviously we know she gets over that surface really well. She's going to come to Churchill. Now, she had her lone defeat there. I'm not actually worried about that at all. It was her first time facing winners. She went the 1-turn mile, and I also just think she's a better filly around 2 turns. You can see in terms of her trips and how it works out for her, it's a little bit better for her. So my one knock is, she's going to get tested here. I think we talked about, some of the field so far. Wait till we go to the outside and you start talking about Leslie's Rose, just FYI, and what they've been able to do in their things, not necessarily that they're winning, but they've faced some different fillies. So I think this is going to be a test for her getting outside of Fairgrounds. But I would, in terms of the super, I think she's a filly that you should use, especially at this price. I mean, she's 6-1 right now. She's 7-2 on the morning line. Talking about the pools are huge today. They're going to be even bigger tomorrow. It takes a lot of money to move those odds in an event like this. So, she didn't get that strong support maybe when the pools open, but there's other horses that are taking a lot more of that money at this point.
So fair to say we'll take the 8 as everything, right? For a second, third, fourth.
Tarifa, classy looking type. So must use on the supers, on the trifectas. If we take a look at the next couple of runners, Hard to entertain. Evelyn, the 9, 30
Yeah.
to 1, the morning line. Into Champagne, the 10, you can make a bit of a case for. For me, guys, I had a tough time trying to endorse the 9 of the 10 up on top. Could you entertain, Ash, either of those two runs before we move on to a couple more of the big threats?
Not for the top spot. I think the 10 into Champagne, maybe in the underneath part of the superfecta. We talked about the pace perspective. So when you look at this one compared to Fiona's Magic, the thing that Into Champagne has is last time out in the Gulfstream Park Oak, she was able to stick around for a share. I would put her at the bottom of a super, maybe. She's obviously a big price. She's 26 to 1 here on the board, but Julien Leparoux is very familiar with her, has ridden her to her 2 wins. And, you know, I know she's been beaten at those longer distances, but she's the type of filly that I think with that nice 3rd place finish, she could build off of that and take a step forward going 2 turns again.
So, okay, maybe we throw the 10 into Champagne just in that 4th spot. Gina, would you agree with that?
I absolutely would. Yeah.
Okay, so we got the 10
And
now.
she's won on slop.
Okay, so
And she's trained by an Aussie, Ian Wilkes. Shout out my guy, Wilkesy,
There
legend of
we
the
go.
game, legend of the game. All right,
sometimes
She
you gotta
looks
bet
really
that way,
good
though.
as well.
okay.
All right, so we've got the in-person endorsement here. Okay, the 11 Ways and Means. This was my top endorsement. A winner on debut, winner at Saratoga. And honestly, I think she was better than the Gulfstream Park Oaks said. I mean, I like sitting. Morning lines were at 5 to 1, and now we're seeing the 11 sitting at, I believe, at around that same price, pulling up the current odds right now. But I feel like we would have Ways and Means and a decent amount of selections. How would you play?
Yeah, it was 5 to 1 the morning line, now sitting at 6 to 1. Ways and Means makes a lot of sense. Chad Brown very bullish on this filly when she came into the barn. Was one of the best he's ever seen. So that tells us enough. Was very impressive on debut at Saratoga and just has the 3 lifetime starts. So with a step forward or more of what we saw early in the career there, Ways and Means looks to be an absolute monster. This is the toughest runner I had, not entertaining coming into this race. Now the more I think about it, I'm like, Ways and Means, the 11 absolutely should be, as we're now 10 minutes out from post time. Ash, what do you make of the chances?
Yeah, I think she could definitely take a step forward. She was just a length behind Power Squeeze in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. And you can see she had a little bit of a setback. We hadn't seen her since Saratoga, where she went 7-8. She went to the sidelines. And then this is typical Chad. When he's got a horse and he knows what they kind of need to do next, had no problem taking her to Gulfstream Park, stretching her around 2 turns. And I think that's a building block. It equaled her best number. She had a 90 buyer speed figure on debut. That was going 3/4 of a mile, where she almost won by 13 lengths. So to me, she did everything right that she needed to in her return to the races. Now people can say, well, is she going to regress off of that? Obviously, this is another step up, but it's a step up for everyone in this field. And Gina can probably talk to it a little bit more, but in terms of when you look at her running style, we've talked about some horses being really forward, some horses being maybe deep closers. She's handy. She can be close enough to it or sit that trip mid-pack. And, you know, I think Tyler Gaffleon, obviously a great partnership with Chad Brown, he's going to have the confidence and the horse sort of under him to just play the break and find the position.
Yeah, one thing about a couple of things about Ways and Means is, you know, she's a filly by Practical Joke and she looks like him, but she's like a smaller version of him. She's not very flashy. She doesn't catch people's eye or attention. She's very under the radar. And my notes with this filly always have been closer, tactical, handy, and a very fun horse to ride. So, you know, if she's going to get in a little bit of trouble, she can still make up some distance, which in her 3 starts, she's always run into trouble early on. And then she comes running. She even clipped heels in September, and she came back and ran second, only beaten half a length. That's a huge, I don't know if you guys know how huge, I get goosebumps, how huge that is to have that big of an issue, even bumped hard. Like, she's a hardy horse. And Practical Joke horses usually are really hardy. So the fact that she's tactical, she's hardy, she's a closer, she sounds like a fun little like Maserati to just scoot around the track on and kind of weave through traffic if you can. But I would love to see her sit nice and close, maybe off the pace a little bit, and let Tarifa and Thorpedo Anna battle it out, or a couple of the really speed horses, and then just take them. I'd love to see her step up, and she's in the right barn. She has the right hands on her to do the step up, as Ashley was saying.
And so we're getting 8 minutes to post time here. So
Crazy.
we'll throw Ways and Means in to the top selection. Now the 12 power squeeze. Can we leave off 19 to 1?
I'm going to go through the outside. I'm going to go through the outside runs here. Power squeeze the 12 sitting at 19 to 1 at the FanDuel Racing app. Just FYI, now taking favoritism of the Kentucky Oaks at 7 to 2 as your favorite, plus 350. So even the favorite is presenting some great value. We've got Leslie's Rose, the 14, with Irad Ortiz riding for Todd Pletcher at 7 to 1, was 4 to 1 on the morning line. So you're now getting a better price. And Our Pretty Woman, the 15 at 12 to 1 on the board. So out of those runners from the outside there, really tough to sort of give the green light in that first spot. But Ashley, I know you're very big on the chances here for the 13. Just FYI, give us the sell. Is this your top endorsement? And let's get into some plays with the Oaks being only 7 minutes out.
It's not my top endorsement. I'll still always go back to Thorpedo Anna, but I think the thing with just FYI is obviously you have to respect the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies winner. She was very game. I mean, she had the lead, and then she had to hold off Jody's Pride, who came back to win next time out. She only wins that race by a neck, similarly to other horses that we've talked about. Put her on the sidelines, brought her back at Keeneland that opening weekend. They put her in the Grade 1 Ashland, and she was the runner-up behind Leslie's Rose. And I think for her, she was a little further back than she typically is. She had a couple more targets in front of her, and she still ran on in the end. Leslie's Rose, though, when you go to the top of the stretch, just opened up on them. So to me, if you like the 13, there's got to be respect for the 14 as well. And that's what's challenging here, because you talk about power squeeze and maybe tossing this horse at 19 to 1. But if you're using into Champagne, power squeeze, beat her in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. So it gets really tough on the outside. But I think out of those outside runners, those outside 4, the 13 and the 14 are going to be the ones that everyone's looking at. And that's why they're 7 to 2 and 7 to 1 here currently.
Gina, would you endorse just FYI as your top endorsement now you're seeing the movement?
It's hard because I don't like to play the favorite. I really don't. But
we
do.
That.
We appreciate the long shot.
But she is one of the fillies to beat. I mean, she's the top 3. Thorpedo Anna, Tarifa, just FYI. I have nothing bad to say about this filly. She's very classy. She's very strong. She's got a better mindset, a mind frame than Thorpedo Anna and Tarifa, especially Tarifa. She's got a better way of going than Tarifa. So I definitely have to endorse her. Not so much Leslie's Rose. But we can move on to that in a minute.
Yeah, no, Leslie's Rose morning lines were at 4 to 1. I mean, comes in with the Todd Fletcher barn. You were kind of high a little bit on there as a potential long shot. How's that changed for you?
Yeah, well, I think Ash makes a good point. It's all going to be pace dependent for me. Leslie's Rose certainly has the credentials, certainly looks to be a progressive type with a step forward, could be a big part of the conversation. And we're now 4 minutes out from post time. So it is business time. Hang on, final swing.
Uh-oh.
All right, I'm ready to rock and roll. I like the 5 up on top. I've got a little super. I don't know if we're going to get to that. But Ash, it sounds like we're seeing them the same. Thorpedo Anna. Why do we like the 5, especially at 4 to 1? Give us the sell.
I think we're just going with her resume so far. She has the lone defeat where I still think she ran her race, and then seeing her now as a 3-year-old, she was able to really put visually an impressive effort together in the fantasy. We've talked about kind of the connections and what they've been able to do. And I like this duo. I think she's taken steps forward. Comes in here off a pretty big speed figure. But in terms of, what I would do with her here, I like her at this price. I thought when she was in that 2 to 3 to 1 range, that's too short of a price on her. That's too short of basically a price on anyone in this field, knowing that so many of these fillies have a similar case to be made, right? We keep on talking. Her lone start as a 3-year-old filly has been really impressive. You could say the same thing about other horses. Leslie's Rose is really nice in her lone 2-turn race as a 3-year-old. So there's so much to go here, but I'm all in on her. I love the confidence that Kenny has. Kenny's usually a confident guy, but pretty big statements for him. And I think seeing how she's training, lights out at Churchill, and she's already got race day experience there.
3 minutes to post time. I feel like Gina would be that kind of trainer as well, just talking up the chances. If you're looking to watch, you've got 3 minutes. You can watch along over at Peacock and at the USA Network showing the Oaks live. 3 minutes out. If you're looking to punch those tickets in, head over to the FanDuel Racing app. This is really as good as it gets. 107,000 people live on site with our team for FanDuel TV included. If you're a sports fan, if you're a sports bettor, this is the pinnacle today and tomorrow. So, Gina, with that being said, Who's your top endorsement? Ashley likes the 5. I like the 5. Where are you going? I can tell by the grin. It's not the 5.
It's a long shot. It's a long shot, Gina. Give it to us.
Where's the participation ribbon going?
It's going to go to Our Pretty Woman.
There we go.
I'm
Outside runner.
She's on the outside. If you like Tarifa, which I like Tarifa, I respect Tarifa. She ran second to Tarifa, only beaten 3/4 of a length. The filly is game. She's peaking. I can tell she's peaking in the afternoon. And she's won on wet ground. So I really like that, especially the fairgrounds. The fairgrounds is a very similar track to Churchill Downs when it's wet, especially to ride on. Here, it'll get a little slick here. And if a horse has, I watched the race. When she drew clear, and she just did it in beautiful fashion. Very, yeah. And Steve Asmussen, man, he's you can't go wrong with him. I like the fact she's won on the slop. She drew in for a reason. I was so happy when she drew in because I wanted to see her, and even Candied. I really wanted to see, but particularly Our Pretty Woman. So I'm going with her.
And an expensive horse, right?
Yeah.
Like coming in, I think it was like over 900,000 or something.
Yeah.
Is that why you went? Is that why you went for the ostrich at 1,500, Gina?
Yeah, because I wanted to put my money on Our Pretty Woman.
Expensive game. All right, I got a super. I'm going to read out the numbers. If you guys are looking to jump in, you have to play along pretty quick here. In that top spot, we got the 5-2-7-8 Thorpedo Anna as the top endorsement. We run it back for second place to round out the place there. In that third spot, we got the 2, 7, 8, 3, and 4. And then the fourth spot, a bit of coverage, 2, 7, 3, 4, and 13. So I feel like it's a really great betting race. If you're looking to jump in and play the exotics, act fast and make sure you do it at the FanDuel Racing app. Ashley, just over $100 spent last year in the Oaks, almost $16,000 on return. Can we see the same again? Come on now, give me some good juju.
I think we could. I mean, you always can. To me, I don't think we're going to see a massive long shot win the Kentucky Oaks, but it's the Kentucky Oaks, right? Just for these horses to get in the starting gate, it takes a lot, right? There's a lot of prep that goes into it, and it's all about not being the best filly in the race, but being the best filly today in terms of trip, right? You could have the morning line favorite come into this race, do everything right, and they blow the start, or they just don't get the trip that they want. They don't handle the off track. So these days are just, I love betting on them because obviously the pools are so big. There's so many ways to make money, so many different wagers, but it's also just fun to be a racing fan and to watch it unfold. You're talking about 14 fillies here squaring off. You don't see this every day at this level.
We're getting chills. They're loading into the gate right now. And the pressure does not get more intense than this. So I think that brings up a good point, Ashley. You can do everything right, but at the same time, it's when that red light comes on, when the crowds are going wild, it's a little bit rainy out there. Do you feel, are you one that would do well under pressure like that?
No,
I'd
the capitulate. I'd miss the part. I'd fall off the horse. In the betting market, race 11, just FYI, is the top betting choice at 7-2. In second, Thorpedo Anna, the 5, currently sitting at 4-1 in Tarifa, the 8, with Flavion Pratt aboard for the ride, sitting at 5-1 at the FanDuel Racing app. Gina, first 5 seconds as a rider, what's going through your mind as you jump out the gate here for the Kentucky Oaks getting set to start?
I'm grabbing that mane, I'm letting them break, and then I'm getting into position. And that is exactly what they're doing right now.
Wow. And you've got a great view. Ashley, how would the nerves be for you right now out there?
Oh, I'd feel like I'm going to vomit. I'm already nervous. I can feel my stomach going. This is what we look forward to. These days of racing are so huge as a fan, as a bettor, and I can't even imagine being in that gate.
And they are off and running. The Kentucky Oaks is underway.
The 2024
I'm hoping I don't lose
Kentucky Oaks.
But I'll let you guys hear the crowd.
Ask and you shall receive. Looks like that connection's getting spottier the further they get into this race. 107,000 race goers live on site. Thorpedo Anna leads him into the first turn ahead of Fiona's Magic and Leslie's Rose. So we've been seeing them well. We thought a couple of the outside runners may push forward early at a couple of big prices. Thorpedo Anna at 4-1. Is this what we want to see from our top choice? Ash, was this the game plan all along, trying to set the table?
Well, she got early foot. Being on the lead, necessarily not sure I saw it. You can see kind of the fractions here, 22 and 4, 46 and almost 4, 46 and 3. They're cooking here on the front end in terms of where you're seeing Brian Hernandez at this point. He looks like he's got plenty of horse under him, but now when you watch this race progress here, he's going to have competition here. So see the 3/4 mark. I mean, we're talking about 111 and 3 in terms of what we're seeing for fractions. Just depends here, the stretch here at Churchill, how it's going to pan out here. I mean, we have other horses closing into it. You got a price on the outside, but she's still kicking here and still grinding away.
5, 11, 10, 7 is the order as they get well into this race. Thorpedo Anna continues to set the tone in this one. Your front runner went off there at 4-1. As they turn for home, they fan 3 wide. I tell you what, Thorpedo Anna, there is no let up, but here comes a bit of pressure up the center of the course. Can we get one home, Ash? Can we get one home? The team ride, Thorpedo Anna looking to take off. Have we got it?
I think we got it.
Let's go. Let's go.
It's all Thorpedo.
Don't you stop. Don't you stop. There we go. There we go.
5-13. Wow.
Thorpedo Anna, Brian Hernandez, connections are jumping up and down. Hopefully you jumped in and tailed. Gina, what's the buzz? Electric? It looked fantastic.
Oh yeah, everybody's going crazy.
Wow, nice call to you, to Ashley. You guys were all over Thorpedo Anna. Comes up on top and gets a pretty decent win.
Hey, we'll take that.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing here, too, when you look at the race unfold, Brian Hernandez took her right. She broke Shark, put her on the front, and you see the opening quarter, and if you just were watching at that point, you're going to be like, oh, no, 22-4. She's really motoring. But then you look at the half, it comes up in 46-3, but she was really able to slow it down. The 3/4, 111-3, you're pushing 112 for 6 furlongs. That's really within a horse's reach like this. And the off track obviously can help horses in terms of front runners, but she looked very comfortable throughout. And you can see in the end, the top 3, they were well strung out. A nice runner-up finish though from Just What FYI. We saw what she could do last year in the Breeders' Cup. Now those back-to-back second place finishes, but man, I mean, you look at this horse and Thorpedo Anna and just kind of watching here how she broke. I mean, she was very, very sharp.
Gina, she goes from gate to wire, went off there at 4-1, second choice in the betting market at the FanDuel Racing app. What does this mean for a jockey like Brian Hernandez? What are the emotions crossing the wire in a big race like this one?
I can tell you that man is probably crying right now.
Aww.
That's just tears. It's something that, this is a really tough game. It's not a game for someone who, the faint of hearts. There's a lot of ups and there's a lot of downs, and the downs are downs and the wins are so high that you really have to celebrate them. I love that. I love it. I love to see it.
Special moment there. The 5 over the 13 over the 4. Anna, Thorpedo Anna, the 5. Brian Hernandez raising the right fist, crop in hand. Celebrate. What a performance that is. I tell you what, not a bad price there as the second choice in the betting, going off at 4-1. Ash, we could have a couple of prices coming for the minors as well. That is the first Kentucky Oaks win for your jockey, Brian Hernandez. So special stuff.
And I think it's really special when you talk about, it's winning it, but for him probably to win this for Kenny, right? Obviously, this is a team that they've been together for a long time. He's ridden a lot of horses for Kenny, and he's the type of guy that he shows up. He's not just going to ride the superstars, right? So we kind of see sometimes at the highest of highs, everyone wants the best. He will get on anything. And just hearing the way that in the last several years, specifically, Kenny's been very vocal about how important Brian is to have him kind of on the staff and riding these horses. It's huge. It's really huge. So, these are what these kind of connections always hope for. And they have a lot of horses in their barn. He gets on a lot of good horses for Kenny. But when it all comes together like this, I mean, this just is huge for them. And I'm sure there'll be tears on both parties. And hey, it just speaks. I said, when Kenny is confident, he's always confident. But I think he definitely brought the bear to the party today.
And she ran well
did.
Yes,
he did. And now he's off the deck for the Oaks.
Exactly. So it was 5-13, 4-11. That was the final order of finish. So going to be excited to see some of the ways that we get the prices out in the minors.
We're going to get some monster prices. And well done to Frankie Wagner, who's jumped into the live chat. Frankie, seeing them well, my man, you called it to win by 5 lengths. I tell you what, he wasn't far off there. So, Frankie, hopefully you backed up that strong opinion, because I do think the exotics, a couple of numbers could be coming across. I didn't get it. My superfecta, I always get a little salty. I mean, we've got the top endorsement. We've got a couple of win tickets, but so many different ways to jump in and play along at the FanDuel Racing app.
Well, how about
The
regular
prices are up here, guys. The
What do we
prices are
got?
up.
Give us the prices,
Let us
Ash.
know.
All
Give
right,
us the
so when you
prices.
want to look at the dollar exact at $19, very form bolt. The 50-cent Trivo that wrapped up with regulatory risk, just shy of $450. You can see the super payouts here are big. The dollar super, $4,275. So still a very good return, especially when you look at that, right? Three of the four in there we talked about, they all had shots at least of getting in the money.
Yeah.
That being the 5, the 13, and 11. And who was third there? Chad with regulatory risk. So really, really nice returns here. And looking at some other things here, the pick 5 that ended in that race, the 50-cent pick 5 that ends with Thorpedo Anna, just over 16,000.
Wow.
I mean, I feel like I need that as a song on my Spotify. Just Ashley saying the pick 5 over 16.
Yeah,
I just put on repeat in the car,
Oh my
driving
gosh.
to work. That's amazing. Well done to the bettors. If you had it, if you had a couple of nice plays, I mean, we've still got racing to come there from Churchill Downs, but this is why you jump in to play some of the monster prize pools.
How impressive. And that's the fun thing too, is that it doesn't end right now. So for all the racers watching, of course, this was the big one, the Kentucky Oaks, but there is plenty more action still happening at Churchill Downs. And then of course, all eyes already focused on tomorrow for the Kentucky Derby.
Cannot wait. With that being said, guys, give us the look ahead to the Derby tomorrow. Now that the Oaks is in the books, I've already teased that I've got a big play up on top. What did Dubs, the 5-horse, look like weeks? Yeah, absolutely did. I like that one, Frankie. I tell you what, Frankie, send me a DM. Send us those plays for tomorrow, mate. You are seeing them very, very nicely there. But Ash, early lean towards the Derby tomorrow, the Kentucky Derby, 150th running. Who's the one to beat for you?
Okay, so on the record, I hate the question like 6 weeks before the Derby. Everyone's like, who's your Derby horse? Who's your horse?
Yeah.
I never want to give it. But this year I was forced to give my horse 6 weeks out. And as of now, at 6 p.m. the day before, I've still been on the same horse. I'm on team Catching Freedom. Kind of looking at this horse. There's so many nice horses in here. I can make cases for a bunch of them. Obviously, there's Fierceness and Sierra Leone. But like Gina said, trying to look outside the box, and with Catching Freedom coming out of the Louisiana Derby, that's what I'm keying in on. Obviously, his other races are good, but the big thing when you look at the Louisiana Derby, he was dead last for a majority of the race, and this is a horse that doesn't want to be at the back of the field. And even his connection said in post-race interview, they were nervous. I mean, he was dead last, had a lot of work to do, had to close, and then had to lose ground by closing on the outside. When this horse kicked on, it was a very, very nice performance. And in recent times, Louisiana Derby's at 1 3/16. That is the closest you're going to get to going the mile and a quarter of distance, right? When you look at these races stateside. And I think the big thing with that performance is he was able to overcome that. I think with a better trip, he can take a step forward. But that's the other thing with the Derby, and Gina can talk about this. You have 19 other rivals against you in the starting gate. Position is everything. And again, it doesn't mean you're not the best horse on paper, right? It's going to come down to that trip and sort of what sort of versatility you have, because a lot can happen. Just because you break good doesn't mean the horses to your inside or outside break well, and they may cause obstacles for you. I mean, that's what makes this such a rider's race. But it also depends what sort of horse you have underneath you. And I think with the case of Catching Freedom, I think a mid-pack trip could really be to his advantage in a field like this.
Catching Freedom, the 4-horse sitting right now at 8-1. I feel like the betting market has started to endorse Catching Freedom. All eyes, obviously, talking about Sierra Leone and Fierceness, but Catching Freedom has kind of taken a little bit of momentum and gotten the public eye just a bit. So, Gina, give us your top endorsement. We're less than 24 hours away from the Kentucky Derby. Who's going to be your top selection?
Oh man. All right. So the 7 Honor Marie has always been, since the Jockey Club stakes, I've been really high on this horse, and he's not flashy. Catching Freedom is a very flashy horse, but even, their connections beforehand they didn't think anything of him before until he started showing himself. So Honor Marie is definitely a horse that I think we're going to get a little bit of a better price, especially when it comes down to the late money that's going to be thrown down. And drawing the 7, again, Ashley said, post position's everything. A ride is everything. Ben is a very good rider, even though this is obviously going to be his first Derby, and he doesn't really ride for Whit. Whit's keeping Ben on the horse because Ben gets along with this horse. He's got a really light mouth. But the horse, despite having a light mouth, the horse loves to run and has a really good speed. So I'm going to go with Honor Marie in the middle there. The way that the pace might set up might just really be good for a late run for him. Not late, but he'll sit right off of it. And he's a very tactical horse. So
Honor Marie is sitting right now at 12-1. But Gina, you said you think we should see a little bit of a better price as the public money starts to come in tomorrow.
I do.
Loves your top selection for the Kentucky Derby.
Get ready. And advanced wagering already up there at the FanDuel Racing app. I've been harping on all week about Stronghold. You know, I'm trying to be different. I'm wearing my pink shoes. I'm trying to go against the chalk in this one. I think very versatile. Is going to need a good trip, but will go off at a monster price as well. So if you're looking for the price play, maybe to use on some of the multis, I think Stronghold makes a lot of sense. It'd be a fantastic story. They really would have to outrun the odds. Antonio Fraser in his first Kentucky Derby, it would be fantastic. But I do think it counts that, you know, the versatility we've seen in the lead up, the Santa Anita Derby, the Sunland Park. You've probably got question marks on both of those fields, but would have to take a step forward. And that's the best thing at this time of year. The 3-year-olds, they can still show a bit more development.
Yeah.
And Ash, I mean, the big, you know, we talked about superstitions and betting trends earlier on the show here. And the one about the 17 starting position was 0 for 44 lifetime. And the big favorite, Fierceness, drew post position 17. Well, with the scratch of Encino, we'll now start from that 16 spot. My top selection, Stronghold, starts from 17, but we'll wear that saddlecloth of the 18. Do you buy in to a trend like that? And if not, if so, who's probably got the best draw in terms of the starting positions tomorrow?
Well, I think if anyone knows me, I'm a mathematics nerd. That's what my degrees are in. So I love stats, but this is the one time I'm like, take the stats and throw them out. I mean, I do think it also depends on the horse starting from that position, right? So if you have a horse, right, and for some reason you don't want an outer draw, it doesn't work well for the running style, you're at a disadvantage. I think there's the other topic that since 2020, the gate's different. The gate used to have an attachment to it, the auxiliary starting gate. So you can't fit on typical gate 20 positions. So what they would do is they'd have an attachment. Believe it, you had 14 horses on the inside and the rest were in the outside. So there was actually a bigger gap between those 14 and 15 positions, which could either help you or maybe cause some problems. So now the gate has been changed. This is a customized gate so that all 20 are in the same lineup. So I think that also kind of dilutes some stats, right? There's also the stats of how many starts you have as a 2-year-old, and if you didn't have any, and there's so much you can go upon. You can go on breeding, how many, you know, say New York Reds have won it. There's so much that you can kind of go into. But again, I think post position is harped upon a little too much. And I think with the case of Fierceness, obviously we know how talented he is. When he is good, he is excellent. You look at his Florida Derby, you look at his other wins, he can run lights out. I said earlier, I love to play devil's advocate. I think with the Florida Derby, you look at the half, they went 47 and change. For a horse of that caliber, that's well within his reach. And maybe it's because whoever else was in that race felt like they couldn't push him, or physically they weren't of the same caliber. So that's a whole different way to look at it. I can go either way with him. If he wins, I'm not shocked. If he's out of the top 4 or 5, I'm not shocked as well. He's going to be the chalk, and I keep on going back to it. There's so many horses in this race, right? That I think if you have a strong feeling or you're looking for a certain sort of running style and you're thinking about how this race is going to pan out, he might be your top pick for me and for you, Dubs, and for Gina. We go in different directions because we're looking for different things. But, I mean, this is why we play the game. I always say, if the best horse always won, we wouldn't be making money. We wouldn't be playing this, right? So you have to think that there is a horse here that has an edge over the favorite. And not that you can't bet the favorite to make money, but if they all win, we wouldn't be in this game. So that's what makes it so exciting.
And look, we didn't get a favorite in the Oaks. Hopefully we'll get a price in the Derby. Okay, a lot of people on Fierceness. I've been very high on Forever Young, one of 2 Japanese horses coming in, and the public starting to see a bit of attention as well to Forever Young. But I look at the stats and say 5 for 5 coming in for an amazing trainer, won the UAE Derby. Now, no Japanese horse has ever won the Kentucky Derby. Gina, could that trend be broken in this one?
Not with this horse.
You're such a savage, Gina. You're such a savage. Why don't you sugarcoat it a little more?
No, I'm not saying that he won't be in the top 4. The luckiest horse wins the Derby.
Yeah.
The fastest horse wins the Preakness, and the best horse wins the Belmont. And Ashley, you were talking about the gates. It's over 7 feet of a difference because on FanDuel X, I went and spoke with the starter and did a whole thing about the gates. And the new gates, actually, the entrance to them is thicker, and the partitions between each stall is thinner, and it makes everything run really smoothly. Forever Young is a very nice horse. He had a bit of a flat work, and another thing that they do with these horses, a totally different style of training. Not saying that it's wrong, but for the Derby, I just don't feel comfortable with it. He's out of his stall a lot. I'm not going to say he's not, it's because he's not a flashy horse. I don't see it in the Derby. Not this year. They are improving on their stock, and they want to win the Derby. But again, also, they haven't been here that a long time. You know, we've been doing this for, well, it's the oldest sport from 1875 or 1975. No, 1875. Yeah, 1875. Is that right, Michael George? Yeah, 1875.
I know we've done the Derby 149 times.
Yeah. So let's just do the math.
So I'm like, wait, Ashley,
Help us
that's an Ashley question. My dyslexia was throwing me through, but yes. What do you think, Ashley?
Well, I think the thing with the Japanese program in general, that it's becoming more of a thing that we're talking about, right? They're putting a lot more money into the sport, not just in Japan, but stateside. And we've seen this on the Breeders' Cup. We've seen this on the big days. So they're getting less fearful of coming over here because they have kind of the horsepower to back them. And I think the case, when you look at the two Japanese runners stand alone and you compare them, obviously Forever Young has the more impressive resume. He's had more race day experience. He has wins going both clockwise and counterclockwise, which gives him an advantage, but he's also shipped. So it's not like he's just solely raced in Japan, where you have seen he's gone to Saudi and he's gone to the UAE, and he's run well at Dubai. He ran very well. It's still just a different ball game, and Gina talked to you about it. The training style is very different on horses like this. That opening quarter in their breezes, they're not going lights out. They're going 14, 15 seconds. And I think, you get a little insight about that even more when you hear Kazushi Kimura speak, because obviously he's ridden both there. He's ridden in North America, and that's just the way they go. That's why you see works that I've never seen a work go 119-3 ever, right? This horse went 6 furlongs in 119-3. You look at the Kentucky Oaks, they just did 3/4 in 111-3, 8 seconds. And that's not even that fast if you're looking at just 6 furlongs by itself. So, I think out of the two, he's probably Japan's better hope would be Forever Young, but T.O. Password gets in here because he was on that Japan race that got him to the road to the Derby, and they qualified him for the spot. So it's interesting. I just don't see them. I think there's a lot of unknowns here with a field like this. And I just think, it's really hard. There's some people that really follow the international racing scene. And Dubs, I know you follow your Australian racing, and I'm so envious. I can't stay up that late. But there are some. I know you know your stuff. So I think the thing is if you like these horses, you have to have some sort of a case. If I was forced to pick one, I would obviously pick Forever Young out of the two. But for me, there's just other horses that are more appealing and enticing.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it so fantastic. There's so many different directions to go tomorrow. I like Forever Young. If I could take the bet that a Japanese horse will win the Derby in the next 10 years, I would absolutely play on. I caught up with Yahagi back in Sydney, and he's so bullish. They want to take out – he's already won at the Breeders' Cup, but he wants the Kentucky Derby. He wants the Arc. He wants to win at the Everest. He wants to win at the championships. And this is the beauty of horse racing. It's a global game. We've made it so much easier for internationals to come stateside, vice versa. So it really makes it an intriguing battle out there tomorrow. The Kentucky Derby going off at 6:57 Eastern. We're going to join up and do it all again tomorrow. And if you're looking for all the analysis and lead up, make sure you tune into FanDuel TV. Advanced wagering already up there at the FanDuel Racing app. But before we get out of here, I've got 2 questions. It's double-barreled.
Uh-oh.
Gina, what's your run style if you're a racehorse, and what's for dinner tonight? And then we'll hand it to Ashley, and then we're wrapping.
I'm a late closer. I love a mile race. I love just relaxing in the back and just weaving through traffic, because if you have horse and or if I'm the horse, I'm gonna have horse. I'm gonna just pick them apart and just come home closing. I love a closer. And dinner tonight, there's a really good restaurant here in Louisville. It's Butcher and Bourbon, something like that. Oh, it was so good.
Yes,
it had some
like
brioche bread with a candle of butter, like a butter candle.
Oh.
So yes, it's good. So I might have a steak. I'll probably have a steak tonight.
All right, I like that.
Ash, what are you going with?
Okay, so there's two ways to answer this. As a failed track sprinter, I don't know if I can really stand on anything. I did outdoor and indoor track, and then I quit. I'm not a runner. I can't run. But I will say, I think I kind of agree with Gina. I mean, I love the deep closer. I don't know about on the Derby. We'll see what the trip comes out to, but I think there's something really exciting. Like if you go back and you watch Derbies, like Mind That Bird's trip in the Derby, that is something that gave me chills, and I will always remember, right? So I love that sort of race because it's exciting because you have to get up to the wire in time. For dinner, I have no idea. I have to go grocery shopping after this. We're working tomorrow, but having a little Derby party with some friends, so I have to have some food handy, and I do know that a bourbon will be in my near future in the next, I don't know, we'll say an hour. I'm going to do like the supermarket shuffle where I have to get to the grocery store quickly, and then the bourbon will be waiting at home.
I'm already ahead of you. We know your run style. You're always late, so we can say you're a closer. What's for dinner?
I was going to say early speed, and I was going to go with KFC because you enjoy it immediately, but then, kind of after a bit, you're like, I probably shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have gone all in so quickly. So I'm going to go against your theory, early speed. We're going to find some KFC chicken to celebrate. What about you?
I'm just going for Chick-fil-A. Not even food. Like, I get a sweet iced tea, just sauces. Just eat the sauces with a spoon. It's disgusting.
Chicken sauce.
It's fantastic. We saw a couple of big prices coming through. Torpedo Anna, the 5, takes out the Kentucky Oaks for 2024. Make sure you join us. Hit them on all of the social channels for FanDuel Racing. Best of luck. If you cashed a couple of tickets, go and pour yourself